Hi, this is Ed, and welcome to The Art of Dark. Yesterday, as many of you guys know who have subscribed to this channel, I found what can only be described as reptilian symbolism right at the heart of the Vatican, in the Pope's audience hall. So I thought I needed to dig a little deeper as to what this actually means and how to decipher the actual symbolism. So stay tuned as The Art of Dark brings you 5 symbolisms of the reptilian Vatican hall. Number 5. First, some context. Yesterday I found a giant serpentine monument in the Pope's audience hall, namely in Pope IV's audience hall, or so it's named. The audience hall itself is made of reinforced concrete by an architect that was known for building bunker-like public structures, indeed monuments, out of concrete. It was built in 1977, so it's really old. In fact, it's been around there for a long time. But my first lead that something was strange was this window, and I said, that looks like an eye. It looks like a serpent's eye. So I dug a little deeper, and when I saw the audience hall from the back, where the back audience was seated, it really did take my breath away, since what was revealed was this right here. That is a giant, massive reptilian face shaped into the direct architecture. Everything from the slits in the eyes to the scales to the fangs, there was no mistake about it. But what's behind this hinted symbolism, and what can we see or glean if we dig deeper? Well, number 4, look at where the Pope is seated. We see him here from the back of the hall, that is in fact seated in the mouth of the serpent or reptilian, in the very mouth. This is symbolic of the Pope being the voice of the serpent, in fact speaking the serpent's words to the audience. This might well shake your faith, that is if you're a Catholic, which I was. I actually went to Catholic school myself and was an altar boy. But here you can see it in plain view. Clear symbolism, clear evidence that something here is extremely wrong. This image hasn't been photoshopped. This is real. This is built right into the architecture that was designed by those within the Pope's inner sanctum. But there is more symbolism. For this, though, we have to go outside. Number 3. Do you see anything strange here? You're looking at the hall itself. Do you see anything weird? Well, if you look carefully, it looks like the head of a giant snake. Can you see it now? In fact, it's almost unmistakable. You can see the snake's muzzle at the front and you can see its eye. It just looks like a snake. To me, this is yet more connective symbolism that what's going on inside matches the outside. Because since here we can see serpentine architecture with ease. Number 2, let's head back inside and look at what the Pope himself sees. If the Pope is seated where he is, what does he see? Well, he sees a giant serpent with eyes once again. The audience is symbolic of almost the serpent's meal, and the Pope is not preaching to the audience under this symbolism, but the giant god-like reptilian creature himself. Why? Because this is what the Pope sees. Can you imagine that when they were designing this, that they designed this all by mistake? That this is some kind of high anomaly? No, because they spent literally years on the designs. They definitely would have known what the Pope would have seen from where he was actually speaking. Also what the audience was seeing. So this is very strange and it raises some serious questions. What is going on in the hall? Number 1. But the biggest clue, the biggest symbolism that tells us something is really wrong here is in fact what is missing from the hall, not what is inside it. Do you know what that is? Here is a clue. Now, think of the heart of Christianity and think of what symbol it has and think of what you do not see in this hall. You do not see any of it. That's right. There is no Christian cross. There is no cross in the entire building, at least no large statue, wall hanging, or anything. There's no other real Christian symbolism either. There's no Virgin Mary, there's no Joseph the carpenter. There is indeed nothing anywhere. All of these symbols are missing. But you might say, what about that 10-ton bronze statue that's seated behind the Pope, where, as the Vatican states, Christ is being resurrected from a nuclear apocalypse? or a nuclear bomb. To which I would say, this, I believe, is a direct corruption of symbolism. That is, they've taken the former Catholic symbolism of Jesus Christ, and they've displayed it in a corrupted manner, therefore corrupting its meaning. This is just not the way that you display Jesus Christ in any kind of Christianic religious order. You don't display Jesus Christ with massive wings on his back, rising up from an atomic apocalypse. You just don't do this. Look at representations of Christ from the past, just to compare. Take a look. Now you can see that there's just a huge, vast difference here. Something is profoundly wrong. I mean, this statue, which weighs 10 tons, just looks like some massive thing, like a boss from some video game or something from some horror movie. You just don't display Christ like this. And also note in this, Christ appears to have massive wings on his back. Half of his face also looks like it's missing, like he's been heavily damaged by the blast. Is this really how you display Jesus Christ? Ask yourself that. You don't even have to be religious. Just look at history and compare. So what is happening? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to continue to dig. You can be sure of that. But I think that this is significant and something really big has been revealed here. Something we've found at the end of this trail of breadcrumbs, which started at a small pizza shop a month ago and led us all the way to the Vatican. Anyway, go out there and decide for yourselves. I don't want to tell anyone what to believe. At the end of the day, you have to judge for yourself. It's really the only way to always stay objective and find the answers. In the meantime, please give the video a like if you did like it. That would help me out a great deal. And let me know and others what you think in the comments section. Share any leads you have. I think right now at a time like this, it's important to stay informed and crowdsource our ideas. In the meantime, this is Ed from The Outer Dark, and until next time guys, I'll see you later.
Morgan. Well, Reverend Gabriele Amorth made headlines around the world recently when he said the devil was present in the Vatican. You're talking about something very real, aren't you?
Certo, realissima. Vi dico, se credete al Vangelo, credete all'esistenza del demonio.
Absolutely, very real.
As to the devil's presence in the Vatican, he says that's no surprise. He once had to perform an exorcism on another exorcist.
The first thing we need to do if we're going to find out if the devil is at the Vatican is take a tour underneath the Vatican. As we arrive underneath the Vatican, we see that it is laid out in a number of rooms marked by letters, as we can see in this aerial view map. Now we will be exploring some of the rooms in this map. Let's start off by looking in room C here. As we look into the room, we see that this is a mausoleum of Lucius Tullius Zethus. The Vatican goes on and explains that this room was used for offerings to the dead. We read, view of the north wall and mosaic floor. In the corners of the mosaic floor there are 8 marble squares with circular holes through which offerings to the dead were poured during the funeral rites carried out in the burial chamber. So here we have a room where offerings are done to the dead. That's pretty common in Catholicism. Now if we look in the next room, room E, so here in this room they have a vase which has the image of a Medusa. So here underneath the Vatican we have a Medusa. Again, we ask ourselves the question, this is a vase, but yet it's kept underneath the Vatican. This could have easily been removed. If the Vatican was a holy church, you would think that they would have done this. You think underneath the Vatican they would have things that are sacred to Christ and not foreign gods, not idols and images of foreign gods. Now as we move down further to room H, here we see that this is the mausoleum that is one of the largest and most luxurious mausoleums underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. It says that it was built at the beginning of the second half of the 2nd century during the reign of Emperor Marcus Aurelius and belonging to a freedman of the important Valeri family. And as we're in this mausoleum, we see that there's lots of idols from the old Roman Empire. We ask ourselves, why does Rome keep these idols down underneath St. Peter's Basilica? You would think if they were Christians, they would want to clean all this out. I can't imagine anybody who has a true church would keep idols in their churches, especially pagan idols. Why is it protecting them? If it was a true church, it couldn't be doing it for the sake of art, especially with all the evil things that are happening in the Vatican. And as the priest earlier said, that evil does exist, the devil is real, as he admitted. But the hypocrisy of all of this is that they have all these evil images and idols underneath the Vatican of St. Peter's Basilica. We also see two figures of Genuses with bat wings also portrayed on the walls. Again, this is supposed to be a holy church and a holy place. Now this is supposedly all there for many, many years. As we move into the next room, room I, the details of the mosaic floor with Mercury and Pluto's chariot, they go on and explain that this theme is an explicit reference to the overcoming of death and the return of the afterlife. They describe it as a splendid mosaic floor of Mercury is depicted carrying a caduceus with wings at his ankles, walking in front, and a chariot carrying Pluto and his wife Persephone. So here we have all these Roman gods underneath the Vatican, images of foreign gods. Well, as we move to the next room, we find out why they keep all these idols down there in these images. As we move to room U, here we find the shock of all shocks. Here on the wall, it says there is a depiction of Lucifer, that is, the light bearer, the morning star. On the opposite of the wall, there is a drawing of Vesper, the evening star, cosmic symbol of the human life cycle. We find out that when we get to room U, here we have a clear depiction of Lucifer underneath the Vatican at St. Peter's Basilica. We ask ourselves, why are they keeping this image of Lucifer underneath the Vatican? Again, you would think if you're a Christian church, you would not want to have any of these images.
Now we know that.
Now, I was going to mention also that I've seen numerous videos of people saying they were taken under the Vatican for some sort of strange cultic ritual. And usually there were children, the ones that report about this, they're children that are brought into these rooms. And, it's pretty unspeakable what they do in these rooms. Now, they say it's under the Vatican, but I'm kind of curious if it's in these rooms or if it's in a different room that we're not aware of. Perhaps like with Ezekiel, they have secret chambers and doors to other rooms that these are just the ones that have been made public that we know about. And that there's actually other ones as well that are there that are even more vile, even worse.